What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Pure Evil MMA, brought to you by MyMMAnews.com. I, of course, am Evil Eddie. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We are about to hit fight night once again. It is Saturday, about 6 o'clock p.m. here on the East Coast. And we have fights down in Brazil. And not only that, but the return of the Dragon is back after almost what's been 2 years since he was suspended by USADA. So thank you for tuning in to the podcast, whether you're listening to this or if you're on YouTube or whatever. Make sure you guys subscribe down below. I'm going to be doing a live fight recap, or you can listen to it on the podcast on your way to work tomorrow, Sunday or Monday. But let's look at this card, because I've been calling it the hidden gem. No one's been talking about it, and I think that's because UFC 217 is right around the corner here on the East Coast at Madison Square Garden, where we got Michael Bisping going against GSP, another legend returning to the cage. Cody Nola versus TJ Dillashaw is also on that card. Rose Namajunas versus Joanna Jędrzejczyk. That card is stacked. So with that card, everyone is talking about. But tonight's card, it's been really going on the radar, and it's quite a surprise because there's a lot of great fighters on tonight's card, like John Linacre, like Marlon Vera. We're going to be talking about that in just a second. We're going to be previewing this card. We got the live chat room going if you guys want to check in, and I'm going to give you guys my predictions. So let's jump right into it. We got Derek Brunson, who's kind of been on a weird streak lately. I mean, his last couple of fights, he won his last fight against Dan Kelly in the by TKO. Very tough son of a bitch Derek Brunson is. But the two fights before that against Anderson Silva, Robert Whitaker, we remember he rushed in on Robert Whitaker and he paid the ultimate price for that, losing that fight. Now Robert Whitaker is the interim champ. And then his fight after that with Anderson Silva just wasn't pulling the trigger. Now Derek Brunson is a guy who came into the fight game as more of a grappler. He's not really I kind of compared him to Johnny Hendricks. I mean, you hear Ted say it all the time. Johnny Hendricks is a fighter that came in as a wrestler, a grappler, and ends up finding his hands and starts falling in love with that. Fortunately, it hasn't been working out to the favor. In his last 3 fights, he's lost 2. So, you know, with the exception of Derek Brunson's last fight against Dan Kelly. Do you want to do that in a fight against Lyoto? Is that a smart idea? I mean, and the second part of that question is, what do we even expect from Lyoto tonight? I just mentioned he's coming back from almost a 2-year suspension from 7 keto whatever that he was busted for. But this is a former champion. This is a guy that Joe Rogan once was like, it's the Lyoto Machida era. And he regrets it, but you know what? There was a point in time where Lyoto was on top of the world. Everyone was tuning into him. He was like the Karate Kid, so to say. He was UFC's Karate Kid. And this is a guy that's been training karate since he was like 3 years old. Jumped in the MMA scene at 17. And he's very superstitious. He even does some very old school tricks. One, for example, is drinking his own urine, which his father taught him. And apparently he believes it helps his immune system, helps him become like a superhuman, so to say. I wouldn't do it. Bear Grylls does it out in the wild. But, you know, when you got stuff like Monster, which I wouldn't recommend to drink if you're a fighter, but, you know, I think water will do it. I mean, you can just tell. This is a very superstitious fighter when you're doing stuff like that. It's his whole life. This is his lifestyle. You know, his last couple of fights, too, he lost to Yoel, the elbow TKO, and getting submitted by Luke Rockhold, I remember. And he had an upcoming fight. Lyoto had an upcoming fight with Dan Henderson. It was supposed to be Dan's last fight before he fought Bisping, but he got busted with the 7 keto whatever. You know, 2 fights. I mean, the last time that he was in there was 2 years, a little over 2 years ago. 2 years and a couple months where he fought Yoel. And then before, I mean, his last win, if you want to talk about his last win, it was almost 3 years ago now. So the big question is, what do you expect from somebody that's been away for so long? Do you believe in ring rust? Do you not believe in ring rust? I mean, a good example. All right, so a good example of this, if you're a new MMA fan and you've been watching since the beginning of the year, you probably saw the return of the Korean Zombie. Now, the Korean Zombie was away, you know, enlisted in the army or whatever over there in South Korea or wherever he was stationed. Sorry if I'm screwing that up. He comes back to the octagon after 2 years. He's facing very tough Dennis Bermudez. What happens? We're all like, what do we expect? Same thing we're saying right now. Goes in there and just shocks everyone. One of the best comeback fights of the year. Well, returning to the octagon. Just absolutely smokes his opponent, Dennis Bermudez. So when stuff like that occurs, it's like, do you believe in ring rust? Do you not believe in ring rust? This is a big question going into GSP's fight. But at the same time, you're looking at Derek Brunson, looking at the last couple of his fights, and you see him going up against somebody like Anderson Silva. Now, everybody is afraid of Anderson Silva because at any second he can pull something out of the woodworks, out of his sleeve, and when you're least expecting it and the fight's over, you won't even know what happened. So is Derek Brunson confident going into this fight? It really is all about where his head is at tonight. Is he going to be trying to use a lot more strikes? Is he going to be trying to go to wrestling? I mean, Lyoto is great Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I believe he's a black belt. He's also amazing on the feet. Is his timing going to be there? There's so many questions going into this fight. So who do you pick? So let's look at what you guys have been ranking in on for this main event. 56% of you are going with Derek Brunson. It could be the safe bet, guys, if you do believe in ring rust. I mean, the last two fights, like I just said, he's lost. Last time he's won a fight has been 3 years ago. It would be huge if he goes in tonight and gets the win. 44% of you are going with Lyoto. This was a tough one, guys. My heart really wants Lyoto to win. I'm going with Lyoto. I'm saying the third round TKO. Third round TKO I'm going for. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, let me know on Twitter because I'll be live tweeting all night. Twitter is down below here on the video cast. That's at evil_echo. That's EVIL_ECCO if you're listening to the podcast. All right, so another very interesting matchup is Damian Maia versus Colby Covington. This is a fight that Colby really wanted. He's claiming that he's one of the best in his division, and you know what? He's on a 4-fight winning streak right now. He only has one loss. It's been in the UFC. It was against Worley Alves by submission about almost 2 years ago. But since then, he's put together 4 wins. That was his only loss in the UFC. Since then, he's got a submission win. He's got a TKO over Max Griffin, who's also fighting tonight. He beat Brian Barberena, decision. The old thumbs up, bam, bam. And he beat Dong Hyun Kim by unanimous decision. This was only about 4 months ago. So now he's got a tough challenger ahead of him. I mean, I know Damian Maia's coming off that loss for the title shot against Tyron Woodley. One of the least interesting fights of the year, but let's give Tyron Woodley a hand with, 25 takedown defenses? Absolutely unbelievable. Damian Maia, when he goes in there, it's an immediate threat that most likely he's going to wrestle you to the ground somehow. He does it so smooth. It's just literally the perfect fighter under the mixed martial arts banner. It is really an art form what he does when this guy steps in the octagon. He even says it. His last few fights, it's ranked very high of least strikes thrown in a fight. So we remember his last win was against Jorge Masvidal. That was a split decision. That fight went a lot longer than I expected. I don't know what's going on with Damian Maia there, but he ended up winning that fight. That was only about 5 months ago. We back up a year ago from now. He beat Carlos Condit, almost retired Carlos Condit. He was very confused what to do after that fight. He got rear naked choke. Damian Maia just ran through him. Before that, he beat Matt Brown down in Brazil, and that's another huge factor tonight here, guys, is that this fight is down in Brazil. You got Lyoto from down in Brazil. You got Damian Maia from down in Brazil. I'm looking forward to this fight. Before that, he beat Gunnar Nelson about almost 2 years ago. Now let's look over at Colby Covington. I mean, this guy has been running his, and I don't mean to say running his mouth. I mean, he's confident in himself, and then he really wants to fight Woodley, which is kind of weird because they do kind of train at the same gym. Woodley says that when he's there and Colby are there at the same time, he will not look at him, will be in the corner using the boxing bag, whatever. But tension's tight over there. So if he can get by Damian Maia, who's to doubt this guy? My heart wants Colby. I'm going with Damian Maia here. Damian Maia's got his back up against the wall. A lot of pressure on him coming off that loss for the title belt, for the title against Woodley. Now, what characters in the past have had success against somebody like Damian Maia other than Woodley? Well, we can look all the way back at Rory MacDonald, who had a very tough first round with Damian Maia. So looking at this fight and you see Colby Covington, who's just chaos, which is what his name is. He just goes in there. He cannot make any mistakes here. He can't be taking risks, throwing random stuff. He could get caught. he's got to be very careful in that first round, which is I'm really interested to see what he plans on doing in the first round. As that fight goes on, if you can discourage Damian Maia, if you can get him to not feel so confident, if you can prevent the takedowns from happening. I mean, Kobe is so crazy, I wouldn't even be surprised if Kobe tries to take down Damian Maia, pop back up really quick, just to throw that out there. He's just a crazy guy. Kobe Covington's a crazy guy. This is not the fight to risk. Kobe wins tonight against Damian Maia. It's going to be really hard for me to say he's not deserving of maybe one more fight before that title fight. Maybe beating Damian Maia doesn't just do it. This is a stacked division here. I mean, it's the welterweight division. There's a lot of guys here chomping the bit, trying to get up there. But if you beat somebody like Damian Maia, put him on a 2-fight losing streak, I mean, the world's yours after that point. I mean, Damian Maia is one of the toughest guys to get past in this division. So let's, I'm rooting for the best for American top teams, Kobe Covington, but I just don't know what to expect here. I really don't. It's going to be an exciting night, though. Can promise you that. So let's take a look at tonight's fight card. We had our main event, our co-main event. Now, Rob Font versus Pedro Munoz. This is our next fight on the main card. And right now, guys, it's about 6:11, so we got under an hour before the fights go down. So this is a bantamweight fight right in front of us here. Pedro, the young Punisher Munoz, going against Rob Font. Both these guys are on a couple-fight win streak here. Rob Font on a 2-fight win streak, beating Douglas Andrade by submission 3 months ago, and Matt Schnell by TKO about 10 months ago now. Last time this guy lost was against John Linacre, who's also on this card, surprisingly enough, by decision. Now, Pedro Munoz, moving over, he's on a 3-fight winning streak. This guy's 14-2, but his last couple of fights, they're exciting. I mean, his last fight was decision, but the 2 before that, he has submitted Justin Scoggins by guillotine choke. He's defeated Russell Dwayne by submission armbar 1 year, 3 months ago. This is a tough one, so I was really interested in what you guys are ranking. It's a landslide for Rob Font here. 70% of you are going with Font to win, most likely by a decision. Some of you guys are picking knockout. 30% are going with Munoz. 68% of you think that fight, if Munoz wins, will be by decision. Very few believe that Munoz will win by by knockout. So on this fight, I'm going with Rob Font. I'm agreeing with you guys. I got Rob Font winning by, some of you guys might disagree, but submission round 3. Moving on, Francisco Trinaldo against Jim Miller. This is a crazy fight. This is a fight that can fit on almost any pay-per-view. Trinaldo was on such an amazing win streak before he lost to Kevin Lee. I was so surprised in that fight. I had some people telling me, told you. But you know what, Trinaldo, I mean, this is a guy that's just been on a tear. He was on a win streak before that, Kevin Lee submission loss. But before that, he beat somebody like Paul Felder. That was an exciting fight. Paul Felder lost because he had a huge cut on his head. The ref would not allow it to keep going on. Before that, he gets the win over Anthony Medeiros via decision. And 2 fights before that on a way. I mean, this guy was just on a tear. If we look over at Jim Miller, though, I mean, this is a guy whose last couple of fights have been pretty tough on him. Anthony Showtime Pettis. That was a fight where Showtime Pettis showed colors of old school Showtime Pettis, where we were all like, oh my God, Showtime might be back. Seemed like his confidence was back. That was a tough fight for Jim Miller. And before that, he had the fight with Dustin the Diamond. Now, if you guys saw that fight, it looked like Dustin was the one that actually lost that. It looked like Dustin was the one that got the beaten. But, majority decision went to Dustin. Before that, he went on a couple fight win streak, beating Thiago Alves, beating Joe Lozon. I mean, these are some tough guys. Takanori Gomi. And he's been fighting every few months here. So I'm excited for this fight. It was one I really had to throw up in the air and think about, but I am leaning towards Trinaldo to get it done in the later rounds. Some of you guys might be surprised about that. Moving forward, 57% of you guys are going with Trinaldo. 43% are going with Jim Miller. All right, so Thiago Santos versus Jack Hermansson. This is another exciting fight. The Joker stepping back in there to put on another exciting fight. This is a guy who's on a 2-fight winning streak, both fights being finished by TKO, and his opponent, Thiago Santos, 2 wins in a row, both have been finished. So this this could be the fight of the night here. No one really talking about this fight here. Could possibly be fight of the night. I mean, look at all of these fights on this card. Just absolutely amazing. No one is talking about this. That's a great main card. A lot of familiar faces. John Linacre versus Marlon Vera. This is one to start off our main card tonight here, guys. 66% of you guys are going with Thiago. 34% with Hermanson. All right, so let's get into John Linacre versus Marlon Vera. Marlon Vera has been having quite the year here. I mean, he had that fight with Pickett, his retirement fight. Marlon Vera was losing the entire fight up until the final round, where he was able to finish Brad Pickett somehow. Very upsetting. Brad left his cap in the center. So, 3-fight winning streak right now. Beating Brian Kelleher just a few months ago. Last loss that he has was against Davey Grant almost 2 years ago. But he's been able to put together a 3-fight winning streak since then. People like Brad Pickett and Brian Kelleher, great start, man. Great start. His opponent, on the other hand, John Linacre, when it all looked best for him, looked like he was on his way to get to the title, gets the win streak, beating Francisco Rivera Jr., beating Rob Font, beating Michael McDonald, if you guys remember that fight, one of the best knockouts last year. And then John Dodson, slipping by with John Dodson. I scored that fight for John Dodson, but they gave it to Linacre. But the last fight, right when he was right there, he just needed to get past TJ Dillashaw. Wasn't in his favor. Dillashaw gets the win, but with a win over Marlon Vera, if you can take away his 3-fight win streak, I mean, this is the bantamweight division. There's a lot of guys in this division where I'm looking forward to. You got people like Jimmy Rivera versus Dominic Cruz coming up. I just interviewed Jimmy Rivera. If you guys want to check it out on the podcast, on iTunes, Podbean, or if you want to check it out here on YouTube, make sure to go check it out. Bantamweight division is stacked right now. I mean, there's a waiting list for that championship belt. UFC 217, though, right around the corner. Will it be TJ Dillashaw? Will it be Cody Nolov? Well, John Linacre, if he wins tonight's fight, or Marlon Vera, best thing to do, get on the microphone and call someone out. I say this time after time. You guys have to know, have a plan. I know, and we'll respect that you only have your mind on your opponent for the night, but you had at least 5 minutes of thinking while you're in bed or something of what's next. If I win tonight, the cameras are on me. You got thousands, hundreds of thousands of people watching, whether it's live or replay. Say something. Call someone out. Make it entertaining. Make it unforgettable. Stand out of all these fights. Find a way to stand out and make sure you do it your way. Don't try to copy somebody. Just be yourself. John Linacre, man, if you win tonight, I'm right there with you, man. That last loss against TJ Dillashaw, it was a rough one. It went to decision. He's only has 3 losses in his entire career. John Linacre 29-8, Marlon Vera 12-3. Who are you guys going with? Let me know on Twitter. 92% of you guys, though, going with John Linacre. Only a sad 8% going with Vera. How about that upset? What are the odds for this one? Let's take a look. So Marlon Vera's wow, plus 410 underdog. Wow. Linacre at negative 530 for the heavy favorite. Well, that would be a huge payout if Marlon Vera can somehow figure out how to get past John Linacre. It's been done before. Don't stand and bang with the guy. Don't taunt him. Use your footwork. I think TJ Dillashaw had a great game plan going into that fight. We're going to see what happens tonight. Let me know what you guys think on Twitter. I'll be live tweeting throughout the night. So let's move on with this fight card. Who else do we got on here? I mean, all familiar names here. Look at this. Vicente Luque against Nico Price. Nico Price, his last fight, oh man, against Alan Jouban. I don't know how many of you guys out there caught that fight. It was only a couple weeks ago, about 2 months ago. Alan Jouban, one of my favorite fighters. I got to interview him before. Nico Price just came out, rushed him, and was able to get the stoppage. TKO punches. Just stopping our boy Alan. And then you got Vicente Luque coming off a decision loss against Leon Edwards. But before that, man, this guy was on one hell of a winning streak. We all remember him from The Ultimate Fighter. He beat Bilal Muhammad on short notice. Bilal Muhammad on short notice. Bilal Muhammad, it's his only freaking loss. Or maybe it's his second loss. But I know that guy doesn't have many losses. Vicente Luque was able to step in at UFC 205, get it done in fashion, too. I think it was like a spinning wheel kicker or something that really hurt Bilal Muhammad. Before that, he beat Hector Urbina by TKO. Before that, he got the submission win over, Alvaro Herrera, I think, by the Darce choke. Here, I'm trying to look it up here. By the Darce choke. And before that, our boy Hader Hassan, his roommate, beat him by the Anaconda choke. This is an exciting fight. Nico Price is a hungry guy. He's new to the division. Vicente Luque, I think he's coming on a short notice for this fight as well. Or maybe it's Nico Price. I thought I heard one of these guys are coming on short notice. All right, let's check in with the live chat. We got people speaking other languages. Why doesn't YouTube have a translator? Well, shouldn't there be a translator on YouTube for this? This doesn't make sense. I'm sorry, I cannot read Brazilian, but if you can find a way to translate it, I'd be more than happy to get back to you. So on this fight, Vicente Luque versus Nico Price, let's see what everybody is ranking in on this one. All right, let's see. So 77% of you guys are going with Nico Price. And only 23% are going with Vicente Luque. I have to disagree here. And let's look at the odds really quick before I tell you how I think this is going to be going on. All right, so Vicente Luque is actually the slight 130, and Nico Price, so plus 110, near even underdog. But on Tapology, it seems like 77% of you guys are going with Nico Price to win this one. I wouldn't be surprised with that either. This is a very close fight in my eyes. All right, so let's move forward with this card. Just going to brush through it really quickly. Let's see here. So I got Vicente Luque to win in the first round via TKO. I just picture both these guys just rushing out, trying to get a finish. I got Marshman to win by TKO round 3. I got Hakran Diaz to win. Some of you guys might be surprised with that one. I got Hakran Diaz winning by decision. Zaleski by decision. Alcantara by TKO round 1. And Gom by KO. That is the knockout artist right there. Gom, that very first fight to start our night off. I'm looking forward to every single fight on tonight's card. Should be to par. I mean, I hope so. The MMA gods, when you think you're in for a good night, you get spoiled. When you're least expecting it, I really find that's when the diamonds in the rough comes out. I said at the beginning of the show, this card is exactly the definition of a diamond in the rough. No one talking about UFC 217 right down the road. Looking forward to it. And we got a couple of great events to look forward to after this, but I will be live tweeting all night on Twitter at evil_echo, so make sure you follow me there. Also, make sure you follow me on Facebook at Pure Evil MMA, also Instagram at Pure Evil MMA. I'm Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA, mymmanews.com. Good luck tonight, guys. I'll be live tweeting. Subscribe below. Subscribe on iTunes, Podbean. Last of all, behave yourselves.